Welcome to A Look Inside. I'm your host, Demetria Head, and today's very special guest is musician and author of Coffee Walk Poetry, the number one Amazon bestseller, Dylan Lloyd. Welcome, welcome.
I I've said this a million times already in interviews. Hearing that is insane still to me.
Mm-hmm.
And you would know better than anyone because years ago, literally, I showed you the first manuscript
Mm-hmm.
and no one else had seen it. And it was years before anyone would actually see it. I think it was
Yeah.
maybe, was it 2024 or
It
23?
seemed it seemed like it seemed like it was further back than that. It
Back
could
to
have
20,
been.
yeah, it could have been 2022, maybe actually. Now that I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it actually was 2022. Wow. Yeah, I mean, obviously, don't quote us both now because we don't remember, but that's how long ago.
It's been a while.
Yeah, the context of that was that I know I was telling you before the show here, I was looking for reviewers, but a lot of them wanted either finished books,
Mm-hmm.
they wanted it in, I guess, a specific, way with with the
Yeah.
manuscript. But you were the one and only one to
Mm.
accept it as it was, and I sent it to you, and here we are.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad you sent it to me because I love poetry because my first published book was a book of poetry. That was way almost 20 years
Ooh.
ago though.
Was it
Yeah.
short? Was it long poetry? What was it like?
It was a mixture. It was some I had a lot of short poetry, but
Yes.
then I also had like a combination of poetic essays or whatever you want to call it. So it
Yeah.
was a mixture. And mine also had like illustrations
Oh,
sporadically,
okay. Yeah.
throughout the book. But yeah, like I said, that was almost 20 years ago. But I love poetry. So I was so happy to read yours. And I'm like,
Great.
wow. And this was even before I found out you were a musician.
Oh,
And I
okay.
said, this is some really good stuff. And some of it, and maybe because I'm an emotional person anyway, but some of them I'm like, oh, this is so touching.
Right, right.
I'm
Yes.
like wiping my eyes. I'm like, oh, this is so good. Oh my goodness, I'm crying here.
Yes, yeah,
But I,
yeah.
I am glad that you brought it to me. But I want to know
Yes.
what was going through your mind when you realized the readers were connecting to your work like that, especially when it started gaining momentum on Amazon.
Sure, sure. Um, looking back on this, Demetria, it was a long process because first it was the conceptualizing process of it.
Mm-hmm.
Conceptualization of it was um, came to fruition through a lot of hardship because it was during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So, there was a lot of uncertainty about how to release something I had um, no prior inclination to release, nor any knowledge of how to release it. So it was just kind of creating off the cuff, and then saying, "Here it is. What do we do with it?"
Yeah.
Um, and then there was the process of, okay, maybe I can find a traditional publisher because I have a lot of followers.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was, okay, that's a lot harder than I thought it was. It's not like finding a music publishing deal, which I've signed two of those. Um, it's just as difficult as that, but different because it's a
Yeah.
literary sense. It's not
Yeah.
songwriting sense. Um, so then it was, okay, let me post these on TikTok, which is not going to
Mm-hmm.
answer your question. It was through TikTok that made me find out that from a literary sense, there possibly could be public support for a publishing of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my poems were going viral, and it was either me reciting them by memory or it was me doing slideshow pictures, which is a popular thing to do on TikTok.
Yeah.
Um, but they were going viral on my TikTok, so I said, okay, maybe then this was the this was the key to feeling brave enough to move forward in the endeavor of publishing it.
Yeah. And aren't you glad you did?
I'm glad as hell that I did. I gotta tell you because I'm just telling you. Because here's the thing, like, man, being a songwriter and being in such a, I
Hmm.
understand the creative palettes are synonymous, but to me,
Yeah.
honestly, as I got into the depth of this medium of creativity,
Hmm.
in my opinion, they're quite different because
Hmm.
there's a structural component to songwriting, and there is in poetry. I'm not saying there isn't, but I feel like there's a lot of open-endedness, an
Hmm.
open-ended environment in which to work within, rather than a very structural
Yeah.
foundation of songwriting. There's a verse, there's
Hmm.
a pre-hook, there's a hook, there's a
Hmm.
bridge. There are sections in which to then conceptualize the idea. In poetry, I felt, being someone that wasn't well versed in what poetry's rules actually were, I just went by
Hmm.
rhythm. Rhythm was the main link
Yeah.
and synonymous connection between songwriting and poetry. Does this feel rhythmical?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, so when I was reading through your book, I must confess, I read because I have the book. I have the book.
Wonderful.
But
Wonderful.
when I've read it and I go back, like I could be driving and there might be something in the book, something that I see, that reminds me of something in the book, and I'm like, and I'll look at it later, like, wasn't there a poem in here that I remember reading? But it's really that good. It really is, and I'm not just saying that because you're Dylan Lloyd, but
If there's nobody, I'm nobody to say. It was like, just then Justin
yeah.
Bieber.
But
But go
I
ahead.
I would never blow smoke with you. If I
Thank you.
like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. But it's I'm telling you, it just has it's had a huge impact on me. Maybe because you could tell that you've poured so much emotion and thought, and you can tell you poured your heart and soul into it. And I
Sure.
think that makes a world of difference as well, rather than just writing for the sake of writing. But yeah, there might be things that remind me of a poem that you wrote in here. And I even let my sister read this, and she loved wasting. She's like, wasting reminded me of this, that, and the other. I'm like, okay.
Oh, yeah,
So
wasting. Well,
yeah.
what's so funny is, when you're telling me about poems, sometimes I'm so, I did take this from songwriting a bit. I don't know if other poets can relate to this. Maybe you can relate to this being a poet
Hmm.
yourself. Is that sometimes you disattach yourself to the creativity because they're like
Hmm.
your children. You have that connection to them, but then they become their own individual, their own adult,
Hmm.
their own life.
Yeah.
So, sometimes I need to kind of remind myself who they are.
Hmm.
So I need to go back and read Wasting again because it's been a while since I conceptualized
Yeah.
that, put it out there, and then went to the next. I
Hmm.
treat my poetry like I treat my songs. I write it, it's done, and then my mind wants me to evoke another emotion to write again.
Yeah.
But to
Yes.
to answer what you're saying about you being able to see the poems, that is by design because
Hmm. Okay.
I purposely made these poems um, entrenched in imagery. I wanted
Hmm.
everything to be a, a visionary scope in which to look through
Hmm.
when you are digesting the poetry. I want you to digest it and then see visually what it is you've just taken into yourself.
Hmm.
And then, as you're able to look through the eyes of what it is you've read, I've had some followers read one poem a day as
Hmm.
a reflective situation, and then they say the same things where they're seeing it out in the
Hmm.
open because they can feel the connectivity.
Yeah.
That's by design. I really wanted the imagery to be really
Hmm.
on point because I use that a lot in my songwriting.
Yeah. Well, you did a great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
So also, when you were writing poems, during that time that you wrote your uh, your poems, did it feel more like therapy or discovery or even something spiritual for you? Because I noticed there's like a there were some spiritual
Yeah,
aspects to it, and then it was definitely cathartic when you're reading through them as well. So how was that experience for you?
absolutely. No, it's a great question. Wonderful question. I am Catholic, and
Okay.
there are a lot of theological components in these poems. Sometimes I'll skip from a theological perspective to a relationship perspective,
Hmm.
or I'll skip from, maybe something more controversial where I'm alluding to Jesus and then I'm
Hmm.
alluding to sex. Like,
Hmm.
you know, to me, God created it all, so
Yeah.
I felt comfortable to be able to talk about a real life human thing coming from a Jesus thing, and then or
Hmm.
coming from a Jesus thing to a human thing, and vice versa. So, um, theology played the biggest role in this because all I had was God. I felt like in a lot of moments
Hmm.
of these poems, I felt like Jesus was omnipresent in a lot of what I was doing because I suffer clinically from OCD. So it was a very terrifying time for me
Yeah.
going through COVID. And, you know, but the poems were something not just different to help me escape out of the reality of the land of the real, as Lawrence Fishburne would say in The Matrix.
Hmm.
It would help me to, kind of, it would help me to focus. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. I did see something on your post that you posted something on Instagram about OCD. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't know that, but I do now that you mentioned it, I remember seeing the post about that.
Very open about that. It's
Hmm.
not only helped my life, but I want to
Yeah.
inspire others to have not just OCD as a disorder, but other mental disorders they might be.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm a huge proponent of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I've done
Hmm.
with them, and also I forget the name of the other organization. I think they
Hmm.
have a picture up somewhere in airport somewhere.
Okay.
Um, anyway, I forget, but I'm a huge proponent of mental health, and
Hmm.
yeah, so
Yeah, me too. I'm right there with you.
I love that.
So I do want to get into now, I loved all of your poems, but there were a few that I dog-eared in the book that I really wanted to talk about because I think that
Great.
these
Have
give
my
will
tea.
give readers okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I
good.
need a refresher sometimes because I'm losing it years ago. Let's go ahead.
Because I think the ones that I chose do I think they would give readers a general idea of the range of your emotions and the vulnerability and everything that you put into it. So let's
Yeah,
start with action. You write about moving forward despite doubts and fears in your poem Action. Do you see action as the antidote to the inner voice that sometimes holds us back?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Forgive me, I'm trying to cheat here
Oh,
when I
that's
find.
fine.
Uh, I actually purposely didn't put a table of contents for people to, on purpose,
Hmm.
book again in full.
Yeah.
But then I go like, why did I do that? Why can't I find my point? Um, yes, action. Oh, I found wasting too, so I'll go to that later too.
Okay.
But yes, action. Your question was, is that the antidote to?
To the
And
inner voice that sometimes holds us back.
it absolutely is. I feel like action. Action is. Action is. I don't know why I'm feeling compelled to say this. Um, I don't know why. Maybe it's just the poetry in me. Action is synonymous with fear in the sense that there's
Mm-hmm.
fear that can sometimes preclude action, but action
Hmm.
kind of
Hmm.
action cleanses it away because when you give action, there's only two answers after that. There's yes or no. Like
Yeah.
you have to initiate in order to you know just anticipate, but also to get what it is that you are looking for. So I feel
Hmm.
like if you're fearing something, action is the only way to clean that up is to just know. Knowing
Hmm.
is the ultimate mediator in
Hmm.
that instance. I actually, when I find this poem, because I'd love to actually revisit this, because
Hmm.
what I love about this book for myself personally is that when I
Hmm.
revisit a poem, I not just revisit the place in which I wrote the poem,
Yeah.
I revisit the feeling. what had actually moved me to write it.
Mm-hmm.
And with action, I felt like when I had written that, it was because I was feeling agoraphobic at the time because of
Okay.
OCD.
Okay.
I was unable to move. Oh, here it is. I actually have it here. I actually see it here. I was unable to move out of my house. It was pretty bad for a bit. But the only way that got me out was that, I loved coffee. That was my
Mm-hmm.
little time to get out. And then I'd go back to the house. And then that time I'd write the poems. But
Yeah.
after that, I wouldn't go back out
Yeah.
unless I had to absolutely get dinner, whether, I didn't feel like getting DoorDash again. Maybe I would
Mm-hmm.
have to go you know what I'm saying? But it
Mm-hmm.
was usually just the coffee walk and here or there the dinner walk. That was it. I couldn't get out really.
Yeah.
But action cuts through everything like a knife, your doubts, your fears that hope to steer you from purpose. Yeah, I mean, in that instance, purpose, you have purpose, but you're too fearful to go at it because you're
Mm-hmm.
afraid to. The mind is a terrible thing to waste, I've heard, but it's also a terrible thing to give control to. Don't let your heart hold on to feelings not meant to be confined or defined by lack of virtue. Listen to the center, it provides what's meant for you. So yeah, that's just basically trying to cut through everything that you feel is just is an obstacle,
Mm-hmm.
um, and just remember that you have purpose. And if you can cut through the weeds of what is blockading you between the blocking you between you and your purpose, it's just
Mm-hmm.
action cuts through it all, and then you
Yeah.
get the purpose. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I have another question before we move on to the next poem I want to talk about. What you just read about the powerful idea and there's a powerful idea in the poem that the mind can sometimes take control in ways that keep us from purpose. So
Right.
were you exploring the tension between thinking and trusting one's inner instincts?
Well, when I said the mind is a terrible thing to waste, I've heard, but it's also a terrible thing to give control to. I guess was I my point was that like, um, you know, you have to listen. I was basically alluding to you must listen to your heart as equally as you
Hmm.
listen to your mind. Because if you're not listening to your heart enough, and I tend to
Hmm.
equate heart with gut.
Yeah.
If you're not listening to these parts of your body, more so your mind, the rational thinking can become irrational, or the rational thinking can
Hmm.
then, detour you from your meant purpose. God gives you an inner compass that isn't inner
Yeah.
here, it's inner
Hmm.
here. It's at the nucleus of you, your soul, which he created. So in my perspective, it was, yeah, it's a terrible thing to waste your mind. It's a terrible thing to sit and think about things you can't control, or think
Yeah.
about things that you failed on, and you're and you're and you're mulling over these things, and time is wasting.
Hmm.
And in that sense, you're giving too much control to your mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I put it in that way.
Okay. I'm glad you said that because you do make a really good point. Because I, maybe not now, I had to work on that, but that was me. That was me years ago, you
Right,
know,
right.
um, just becoming fixated and mulling over things that until I realized, okay, I can't control,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly. No, completely. I think that's a wonderful thing, and I think everyone at some juncture in their life goes through it. But
Hmm.
there comes a fork in the road. There comes a time
Hmm.
when it's just laid in front of you. Are you going to keep listening to your mind, or are you going to start to listen to your heart? And I think
Yeah.
that's what this basically alluded to. Action is more so in this essence. It's kind of double entendre in the sense that action cuts like a knife. It's your heart that's cutting through the noise in this
Hmm.
essence, through it, because your mind is so loud. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That is so true. So the next poem I do want to discuss, and this was one that I really loved as well, The Struggle.
Oh, the struggle. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah.
So
Yes, go ahead. Go
there's
ahead.
a very raw honesty about insecurity and feeling unseen. So how important is vulnerability to you as as you were writing the poem and even as a musician? How important is that?
Absolutely. The struggle is a real thing. Everyone goes through it in their life, and I wanted to equate the struggle with, I'm a singer-songwriter, and I wanted to equate that with something that, you know, a lot of people find indicative with the music business, with people
Mhm.
coming up in the music business, but I wanted to universalize it. It's just not just like a singer-songwriter thing. It's an anyone thing.
Mhm.
Struggle can be with anyone, but I put my own emphasis into it as well. Um, you know, this was one of the most honest poems I could give for the readers. I can't reveal this struggle, embarrassing to put into words that I don't have luxury. How can I be famous when nobody really loves me? Nobody's truly wanting to see me succeed. Everybody's always flaunting their own given needs. So, this is the most, it's not just a personal poem, but it's also like kind of reflectory in a sense. It's kind of like, um, there's a bit of anger there, but there's also a bit of like, of, of, of brave revealing,
Mhm.
a bit of revealingness there. Basically what I'm saying is like, I mean, I'll just be real with you. Like, I at this point in time, I didn't have all the success I've had now,
Mhm.
with the book, with the syncs, with the new publishing deal. At this point, I had a pub deal before, and I just didn't understand like how, I had so many followers, and I had a publishing deal before with a major
Mhm.
company, but yet I wasn't rich. And I saw people that were, and I just like, why couldn't I be that? And nobody, everyone's patting me on the back saying good job, but they're not really, asking me how I'm really feeling after that. Like, I
Mhm.
was really in my feels with this poem, but I felt like, even though this was probably a poem that probably nobody would have put in their book, I wanted to put it in there because I don't feel like this book would have been honest if I didn't put a real, self-reflecting, interpersonal,
Mhm.
real
Mhm.
thing that not just I have felt, I know for a fact, not just other people in this business have felt, I know for a fact, anyone,
Yeah.
anywhere who has struggled ever,
Mhm.
no matter what their situation is now, whether it's better or worse, has dealt with. I know people have dealt with this, and I felt like that was the most important thing, was not my ego in this sense, and not that like I don't want people to know that I've struggled before. Like, I
Mhm.
want people to know that I have struggled, and
Yeah.
it is a real thing, and it's okay that you struggle too, and it's okay that you tell people that you struggle, and
Yeah.
it's okay to wear that as a brave and a badge of honor, because
Mhm.
how do you grow if you never accept the situation you're in?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
that's
guess for
true.
me, yeah, it's one of the most personal um, poems in this thing. So
Yeah. Yeah, and you can feel it. I can tell. And it is very relatable. Many of your poems, but even more so this one is very relatable
right.
because, as I was reading and then rereading, I'm like, you know what? That is so true. Like he couldn't have said it any better. There are a lot of things that you reflected on in your book, Coffee Walk Poetry, that I think so many people will be able to relate with.
And I really, and I'm so glad that you were able to relate to this, because I remember looking at this line, how can I be famous when nobody really loves me? I was hoping that like the context of this poem wouldn't get lost. I
Hmm.
wanted people to understand that even um, having a following like I do
Hmm.
still merit you or give you riches or overnight success. Like,
Yeah.
there's still so much work to be put in, and there's still
Hmm.
so many doors that are in front of you but are locked. that you have
Yeah.
to figure out how to get through, if not through the window in the house, but you have to find the key in the lawn somewhere under the roof. There's
Hmm.
always a barricade somewhere, no matter how high you get. And I was hoping that this poem still contextually cut through that line because I didn't want to also be there's ego in this poem, but there's also revelation, there's revealing,
Yeah.
there's stripping. Here I am naked.
Hmm. Hmm.
This is me. The
Yeah.
ego's there saying, I hate how like everybody's flaunting their own given needs. What about my needs? But here I am, still butt naked, telling you that this sucks. This is terrible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. We've definitely all have been there. And I think as human, of us, to see and compare, we tend to compare ourselves to others. Like,
yeah,
I've been given this God-given talent and everyone says I'm really good, and yet this person is doing something similar and they're like making $1 million, and here I am still struggling.
right.
We all tend to do it. That is so true.
I love that you connected to this. I think this is my favorite poem that you connected to. I really love that you connected to this one, and I hope that every other creator and author and writer can connect to this and
Yeah.
feel that there is a real community here of relation.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about wasting.
Oh yeah. Sister like this one, right? You said your sister.
Huh?
You said? Was it your sister? You said that.
Yes, yes. My oldest sister was reading that today when she picked up the book you sent me.
Yes.
And she's like, "Oh yeah, I can definitely get behind wasting. Those were my thoughts and feelings."
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah. Go
in
ahead.
wasting there's a clear emotional turning point where someone realizes they can't continue investing in a relationship that causes pain. So what inspired you to explore that moment and choosing self-worth?
Absolutely. No, this was a poem I turned into a song. There are some all of these poems, well, most of these poems are poems straight up, but some of these were turned
Mm,
into songs because they had the structure to them that I could envision having a
hmm.
melody. They had a melodic vision to them. So
Yeah.
this was short poem turned into song. Um, yeah, I mean, if I may recite this really quick, just
Oh,
so I can
absolutely.
immerse myself in this again. It's just kind of like revisiting a friend, these poems.
Hmm.
Now you're just a memory, cannot understand we had it all, but not enough. Um, those three lines just are like what anyone could relate to. It's
Hmm.
very simple and straightforward. You're thinking back to something and you had it all, but somehow just didn't make the cut.
Hmm.
Um, couldn't shake the feeling, pain was never ending, having doubt about your love. So I can't keep wasting all my time on us. Need me someone else that will promise me the world and never put me down for once. I gave you all I have, but I found someone who can be here and genuinely loves me. So I can't keep wasting all my time on this. So your question was basically how did I come to the realization of moving on, basically? Is that what it was?
Yes, or what inspired you to explore that moment and choosing self-worth?
Oh, yes. Well, there at the time there was I just felt like I was really in my head about um, certain relationships and
Hmm.
being alone by yourself in these moments. Um, you have to come to the conclusion by yourself. They're not going
Hmm.
to help you, the one that you're mulling over. And in this instance, it was just, when I think of that person, there was a lot of potential there, but there was a reason it didn't work. And in
Hmm.
that moment, no matter how much I had wanted that to work, the thinking, again, going back to action, the thinking, there was too much thought, there was too much overthinking of that
Yeah.
situation. Action needed to take place. So I acted and, you know, just chalked it up to, unfortunately, the diagnosis was it was a waste of time, which is I didn't feel was something that was a bad thing to say. I don't feel like,
Hmm.
coming to the conclusion that you've wasted time is necessarily a bad phrase to use because, you know, without without perceiving what you've done with time, you haven't grown. You know, you could have wasted time, you could have fulfilled
Hmm.
time, you could have whatever time, but at least you're perceiving what it is you're doing with the time you're given.
Yeah.
So that's how I was able to um, come to a settling of
Hmm.
that situation. And then when it came out in the book, basically, was that yes, this was good, but I needed me somebody that could be better.
Yeah.
And again, I just wanted to be really just straightforward with it and
Hmm.
not really, articulate or not really overly, um, Webster about it. You know what I mean? Webster dictionary, just plain and simple. It was good, but now it's gone. Now I moved on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that, or what do you hope readers would get from that? I know you just broke it down, but do you think is your hope that readers or anyone who needs to read that poem would have space to heal and that it triggers personal growth and what is your hope from
Oh,
it?
all of the above, Demetria. Actually, all of the above.
Mhm.
I want them to know that it's okay to move on. I want them to know that
Mm,
it's okay if they wasted time because they still have more time. I want them
mm,
to understand that, you know, just because those things happened that were so good aren't happening now anymore, didn't mean that they weren't good. It
mhm,
doesn't mean that you can't look back on them fondly. It just, what I want people to do when they read this is that they can move forward amicably and in a healthy manner and grow
mm,
and be better as a result. Um, and if anything, don't waste
mhm.
the opportunity to do so.
Yeah,
When that opportunity calls to move forward and be better, don't waste that. You know,
yeah,
that's what I really hope that readers who can relate to that um, are able to take and digest from.
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Maze.
Oh yes, I love Maze. That's one of my favorite poems. Well, yes, I do. I love Maze. Go ahead.
See, and
Yeah.
I had a hard time narrowing these down because I'm like, no, do I want to talk about this one or this one? But they're all so good and they all say something, that I really want to point out. But Maze was one. Um, of course, you used the imagery of the art and the heart being like a maze. So, what inspired the metaphor of navigating the emotions like a labyrinth in that?
That's an amazing question because I remember that I was watching my favorite. This is my favorite Disney film is Alice in Wonderland, and there's a maze towards
Okay.
the end of the film. I'm talking about
Mhm.
like the old
The classic.
classic, yeah.
Okay.
And and that inspired me to just write a short poem
Mm,
about just using the title maze, but I hadn't conceptualized where to go with it yet. And then I was thinking about a relationship I had lost at the time
okay.
that I was missing at the time and wanted to define how I felt to this person, but was unable to.
Mm,
So then I started to make the connection from the maze or
mm,
labyrinth, started to make the connection from a labyrinth to a heart and how the heart is a complex organism
mm,
and there are things that cross in and out of it. Um, and when I say I feel so stupid for using these colors on this canvas because my mind won't let me
mm.
just paint the heart, it's because I'm wanting to say something. I'm saying something, but I'm not saying exactly what I want to say
Yeah.
because I'm unable to say it. So then it becomes this crisscross of ventricles in a wasted maze of art. So, it's basically I'm just splattering out words not in the way I want to say them, like a Jackson Pollock painting or something. Like just throwing the painting on the canvas is
Mhm.
just a mess. Not as beautiful as he does it, but it's just kind of like blah, and then it's like, oh, it's not what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
That's basically what I mean by that. So I cover it in black to offset the scar. So I basically just retreat myself
Mhm.
to cover the hurt because it then
Mhm.
hurt me once I wasn't able to articulate what I wanted to tell the person.
Mhm.
But then I go, you know what? Who am I to deny sweet taste from a tongue deserving to navigate the walls of her embrace? So I'm in a sexual connotation. I'm like, I can't stop this person from exploring her body and emotion and sexual nature with somebody
Mhm.
else who may be more deserving than me now at this time. So I'll just look to him to understand my fate. That was the last line.
Yeah.
So you see how like I said before, I cross theologic themes with sex themes
Mhm.
here and there in the poems because um, it's just well, it's life. Um,
Mhm.
we think we are humans. We think of it all. You know, and in this case, it's a very real situation where you want to talk to somebody that you miss. You know they've moved on. You can't talk to them, and you then think about who they're with, and you go, you know what? Like, who am I to interrupt that? Who am I to mess that up? That's not my place. That's not my right. That's not my life. So I'm just going to give it up and just give it to God.
Yeah.
That's what that poem's about. Yeah. So that's what it's about. And the imagery, the vision was important to me because
Mhm.
a maze is a very complex, very confusing, very scary,
Mhm.
terrifying way. You're meandering in a way that's never straight. It's always, well,
Yeah.
I love her, or I hate her, or oh, I miss her, or oh, you're just going like this all the time. There's not an
Yeah.
exit. You get confused. You get terrified. Like, am I ever going to get out of this situation mentally?
Mhm.
And becomes visceral. It becomes obsessive. It becomes
Mhm.
these things you don't like, and um, you know that yeah. So.
Yeah, that is so true. I'm just listening to you because you're very deep, you know. You're just very deep, and you can really tell that you're a writer and a creative all around.
Thank you.
You can really tell.
Thank you. I just didn't know I could do this. I had no idea this was even something I could do. I never tried it before, and I just said,
Really.
I got nothing to lose, and it's
Yeah.
COVID. Probably nobody gonna read this anyway because I'm
Uh,
if I put it out.
and it turns out we are reading it.
I, we reading it.
Yes.
Anyway, yes, that's Maze.
Okay, so I do want to move on to the garden.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's one of my first poems. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can read it if you want.
Go ahead. I'd love to hear what you. Yeah. Go ahead. What do you?
Okay. So, you ask what change actually looks like. So, do you think personal growth is something we recognize while it's happening or when we look back?
Oh, wow. Well, in the context of this poem, when I say what does change look like, does it look like leaves that dance on jaded soil to only grow trees that fade and spoil? When I was writing this, it was during the fall.
Okay.
Um, or does it look like webs clinging to the cold grasp of limbs from when there were promised times in the field of sins? I would say both. Because when I was writing this poem, I was in Hyde Park in Chicago, walking towards University of Chicago, and
Mm-hmm.
it was semi windy-ish, and I was looking at leaves kind of just blow across, somebody's lawn, and that's where I got the idea of dancing, leaves
Okay.
dancing on jaded soil. So, that could be left up to anyone's interpretation. Soil that, maybe over time was impacted by a lot of situations that
Mm-hmm.
were not very good,
Yeah.
but grew strength in
Mm-hmm.
time, enough to hold trees, enough to hold experience and knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is how then I alluded to, does it look like webs clinging to the cold grasp of limbs, which is why I kind of alluded to what I just said.
Yeah.
Basically, are you looking, does change look like, the dance, like, celebration, or You're able to, move about and
Hmm.
be okay with what it is you're dancing on.
Yeah.
Or, does it look like cold and death,
Yeah.
old webs clinging on, like never letting go of the past? It's just always there
Yeah.
on the tree, and you see it every time. Is that change? Because people tend to leave that behind and move
Hmm.
forward, right? Thinking they've
Hmm.
changed.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
haven't. It's still there on a tree. You can see it
Hmm.
like a cobweb. So that's what I meant by that.
Okay. Yeah, because I think that some of us do definitely struggle with that change too.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because that was me at one point.
Of course. Me too. Oh, we all have. We all
Hmm.
have. And that's what I really wanted to get to, per se, to the crux of this poem was, as I was walking, I wanted to be able to equate that experience to the
Okay.
imagery I had been seeing as I was walking.
Hmm. Okay. We're state neighbors, by the way. I'm in Michigan.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So I'm born and raised in Chicago,
Okay.
but I live now with my family in Indiana. So we still neighbors.
Yes. Yeah. Good
Yeah,
old Miss Midwesterners.
exactly. We know about coal. We know about it.
We do.
It ain't getting any better. Anyway. Man.
So I do also, I think the gift of life is the other one
Oh,
that I wanted to talk about. Gift of life. um you bring in cosmic imagery like the stars and time and the heavens, so to talk about love and meaning, so what draws you to those universal symbols when expressing emotional ideas?
true, true. No, I love that question. It's a great question. I use um, those analogies quite frequently, I feel like, in the book. But with Gift of Life, this was a very theological um, dip into um, my creativeness because I don't even recall how I had really I wasn't really thinking of anything before. I think the only thing it was so natural
Hmm.
that I don't really recall what actually inspired it. I just started writing. The only thing I can recall from the time I wrote it was St. Christopher.
Okay.
St. Christopher carried Christ on his shoulders, and he felt like Christ was so heavy, he felt like he was carrying the world as he was crossing the river. Um, so, talking about gift of life, I actually included that in the poem, was that analogy. I don't know
Hmm.
if anyone even picked up on it. But the spark lights the way, and you were always on my mind. Can't you see stars were made from the mother womb of time? Look up to the heavens and find my love and omnipresent gift of life. Mother womb of time, I'm talking about God.
Hmm.
Find my love and omnipresence, God. But I also allude to a woman, the mother's womb.
Hmm.
I feel like um, between a man and a woman, in my opinion, Christ gave his most beautiful gift to a woman is to create directly.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
mother womb of time, um, look up to the heavens and find my love and omnipresent gift of life. The spark lights the way, and you were always on my mind. I do recall that that was about a relationship at the time I had, and it had inspired me. Um, But then the rest of it was every night I would dream of the time you came to me on the back of the one, St. Christopher, who crossed the water to the sun. So am I worthy of your blessing if I find your love and convalescing gift of life? So these are always a turn back to Christ. Am I worthy of you? This world, this universe is so beyond and will
Hmm.
always be beyond my understanding. Is it okay that I don't understand? Am I still worthy of you, even if it's okay that I don't understand it? Even if I don't understand it, I mean.
Yeah.
So I like to use space as a backdrop to real life
Mm-hmm.
situations because we are so small in comparison that no matter what we're going through, that is infinite
Yeah.
forever. Christ is infinite
Yeah.
forever. And I'm sorry to any viewers that aren't religious, but at least you can relate to
Mm-hmm.
space being infinite. So that's why I wanted to, universalize these poems. That even if I took a
Mm-hmm.
theological route, there was still someone who might not be as theologically based as me, or
Yeah.
or as religious as me, and still take comfort in the science of what it is I'm trying to equate
Yeah.
analogously to what I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
to say. So I use a lot
Yeah.
of space allegory. I use a lot of those
Yeah.
connotations to keep a universalist perspective, pun intended, no pun intended,
Mm-hmm.
but also,
Mm-hmm.
but to keep it into perspective and focus that these these humanistic feelings, these situations that I'm describing that we've all gone through are
Yeah.
always, always paling in comparison to how grandiose it is of where we are, and to never
Mm-hmm.
forget that because it can always be worse.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
and
true.
you can always find a way to make things better.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm glad that you mentioned that because I'm a Christian and I want to provide a space where, anyone who I interview who is a Christian or who is religious is able to freely speak of that, and
Sure.
I could even see that throughout your poetry. So I get it.
Mhm.
I was able to connect with that from a spiritual standpoint as well. So,
Absolutely. I'm so glad about that. Yeah, and
hmm
that's when a poem is really that's what I really want to take away from this book was if a poem is really well done, if I can just get the reader to love one poem, that
hmm
book was a success to me because there was something there that resonated with you,
hmm
uh, and you didn't invest your time for nothing. You found something.
absolutely. Well, that leads me to my other question, after what is your hope that readers discover about themselves through your poems, after they even finish reading Coffee Walk Poetry?
Sure. I hope that this book becomes something that they can always go back to, um, for reference in any type of complexity that they may confront.
Hmm
Just being a motivational source for them to privately go back to, journalistically go back to, because I leave
hmm
spaces for you to opine, um,
hmm
and reflect that, hey, I've been through this before. I remember
hmm
this. Poem is reminding me of that, and I can get through it because he got through it.
Yeah.
If he got through it, meaning me, then anyone can, everyone can. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I do, since you brought up about the space that you left for your readers to be able to write and reflect, I thought that was a really good touch, a really nice touch, because I think it invites readers further in to the experience of the poem. So now you get to write, you get to reflect, and and pour out your innermost thoughts. I really love that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And it's
Mhm.
funny. Why I came up with that is because I love to write in the margins of books. I always do it in every
That
book.
was me.
So I was like, as a reader, I would really love for a book that I like to just not have no words on it somewhere, so I can write down what
Yep.
I can. So that if I put it down for a while, I can come back and read.
hmm
That's what I really wanted was a whole space dedicated
Yeah.
to just for you. So
Yeah. It's a really good touch. So we're at the almost at the end of the interview. So I want to ask,
sorry, that's fine.
would you mind closing us out with any of the points from your book? One of
Absolutely,
your poems?
I will do that.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Of course. This was my wife just said recently this was her favorite poem, and it was so funny because this was the first poem I had written that had initiated the entire book without this
Okay.
poem. And she didn't know that. So, you know,
Wow.
I was like, oh wow, this is wonderful. Okay, well, back to the beginning. This was the poem. I remember where I was walking. I remember what the sun looked like. I remember what the day looked like. The poem's called You Are Existent.
Okay.
Every failure is another key to another door. Another door is another way to a higher floor, beyond the plane of resistance, where in the ultimate eyes you are existent. So I walk and I feel a glow from within me. It rides the wave of sunset. He beams upon me. I feel. But what if I told you that life is what you mean it to be, what you will it to be? A dream not deferred or obscured by the visions of covetous voices. You could crawl across nails of rust and time, not pleading, nor conceding, beyond the plane of complacence, because in the ultimate eyes, you are existent. I mean, that poem just means basically that no matter what, no matter what you go through, no matter what people say about you, no matter how much pain and suffering you go through in your life, you exist because you are meant to. And because he sees you, him seeing you, that's the ultimate purpose in your life. He sees you. He puts you here for a reason. You are
Yes,
existing. So thank you.
absolutely. That was beautiful. Thank you, Dylan, for that. Before we wrap up, I do want you to let everyone know where they can follow you across social media.
Yes, so please follow me on TikTok. I have over 100,000 followers there. It's at Dylan Lloyd underscore, so DYLANLLOYD underscore. And then on Instagram, Dylan Lloyd one. Um, God bless you for this incredible experience. Thank you so much for being my number one supporter and first believer,
Oh, absolutely.
my very first believer, literally, in this book. My father believed in me, God rest
Hmm.
his soul. My mother believed in me, but outside of them, I didn't show this book to anyone else so early,
Hmm.
except for you, because you were the only one that picked it up. So I just want to thank you for this wonderful honor and this amazing opportunity you've given me, and I hope we speak again soon.
Absolutely. And it was an honor to even for you to even bring it to me and for me to be able to read it. And I'm glad that I did.
Thank you.
I'm an avid supporter of writing and and I'm glad that you really did decide to put it out there. And I just want to give my condolences. I did see where you dedicated this to your father who passed almost a few years ago now.
23. Yeah.
So I do want to send my condolences. I know that's tough, you
Thank you.
know, but
Thank you.
also I'll put your social medias in the description once we
Excellent.
get done with this.
Great.
I am curious to know where your book tour. You're on book tour, correct?
Oh, yes, I am. Yes, I have in 2 weeks my first book talk. So I'll be doing a lot of what I was doing here today,
Mm,
tonight, excuse me, at a book event called, well, it's a book talk at Undercover Books in Chicago. And then I have a library event in Indiana. Then
okay.
I'm slated to have an event in Minnesota in the summer. Trying to
Okay.
get something in Michigan. We'll see.
Yes, you have to come to Michigan.
Yes, I would love to. I will absolutely let you know. I am working on it. I am definitely.
Okay. Great. Once you do, I'm definitely looking forward to that and showing up to show my support.
Would love to. Absolutely. I will let you know ASAP. And then later this year, what's supposed to happen, I don't have the official confirmation yet, but it sounds like it's confirmed, is I'll be speaking at the University of Chicago. And that's going to be an amazing experience for me, quite full circle, because I wrote
Wow.
the book, most of it, in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I just did Barnes and Noble actually too. Barnes and Noble was my first event I did
Okay.
in Fort Wayne. So my books are at Barnes and Noble now. You can actually order them not just on Amazon but also on Barnes and Noble website.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That really is
So
amazing. And I wish you continued success.
you too. You too.
Seriously.
You're a
Thank you.
wonderful interviewer, a wonderful writer. You're God's
Oh,
blessing. So
thank you.
I wish you continued success, and I can't wait to see your journey too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Have an amazing night.